Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so excited and delighted and so wicked happy that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Ghana, Himalaya, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is an incredibly special young woman. Her name is Cassidy Stocker, and she is going to tell us how she chose to battle cancer with love. Before we invite Cassidy into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by I Don't Want to Turn 3, the wonderful picture book by Gramps Jeffrey. When does a toddler start to learn right from wrong? What happens in a family that influences a decision going through a young mind? I Don't Want to Turn 3 explores the interaction between family that is happening in just about every household in the world. I Don't Want to Turn 3, it's a wonderful book by Gramps Jeffrey, a wonderful book that can help your family grow closer together. Check it out today. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Scott Feld, the best-selling author of Dax to the Max. Scott is also the creator, speaker, and presenter of Mind Zen Motion Power Parties and Power Quest, as well as the I'm Possible Power Series. Scott's mission through all is to bring awareness to the inner superpowers we all have, but most of us don't really know about. Therefore, we can't use it to benefit our lives. Scott wants to help us find the keys to unlock our inner superpowers to become unmesswithable from inside and out. Dax to the Max specifically shows kids how their imagination can trump any fear in any situation. Please check out everything that Scott does at mindzenmotion.com. And be sure to pick up Dax to the Max at Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. Joining us right now from right outside of Louisville and the beautiful state of Kentucky. Our guest today is a really special guest. She's been doing lots of great things for lots of kids that need great things happening in their lives. Please welcome to the show, Cassidy Stocker. Hey, Cassidy, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm really excited to have you on the show. I learned of Cassidy through her mom. Her mom, Shannon Stocker, is an author and was recently interviewed on the show. And she told me about her wonderful daughter who is raising lots of money for kids in hospitals. And why don't you tell us what's going on here? First off, who are you raising money for?
I am raising money for kids in the hospital, more specifically kids with cancer, because I know what it's like to be a kid with cancer in the hospital. And when you I raise money to give gifts to kids, because whenever I got a gift in the hospital, I felt less alone, more happy, and just like people cared about me. So I wanted to make sure that the same could happen for every other kid in the hospital, because it's important that when you're in the hospital having medications that make you sick, that you feel loved.
Yeah. And that really is true when you're battling cancer, which you battled. The way they battle it is by giving you poison. That's one of the ways they do it.
Unfortunately, yes. I got very sick after each chemotherapy, vomiting and nauseated, and it's no fun, especially when you have to do 21 chemotherapies or 100 chemotherapies. I just did 21, but I know people who have had over 100. So it's just, and some of those people are younger than I am. It's crazy, and it's completely unfair.
It is unfair, and I wish... I don't know if your mom told me, I do magic shows at schools across the country, and I'm up on stage doing these miracles. And the miracle that I really wish I was able to do would be to go to a hospital and wave a magic wand and make everybody well. But I only pretend to do magic on stage. But I think what you're doing is real magic. You're bringing love to kids and helping them feel loved and helping them feel less alone. You mentioned something that when you're in the hospital, receiving a gift, it made you feel less alone. I'm imagining some people might be thinking, how can you feel alone in a hospital? There's all those nurses and doctors and aides and people coming in to give you this shot and this medicine and fluff up your pillow and turn you over. And how is it that you feel alone at that moment?
Sometimes it's just because everyone who's taking care of you, usually they are well. So you feel alone in your sickness, like no one else understands you. Because I didn't have chemo in rooms with other kids. I had chemo in my own room. So sometimes that makes you feel like you were the only one who was having this therapy and you're alone in the world.
Wow. What was that like, if you don't mind me asking, what was it like when you heard the doctor say that you had this thing called cancer, and that the way to treat it would be to poison you?
I threw my shoe at the wall. I screamed, and then I asked my mom if I could have a dog. I was very, very, it scared me to death because my tumor is in the center of my brain on my control center. So I'm lucky I never had seizures, but it was always nausea, vomiting, headaches, and fevers for me. But it was terrifying, but at the same time relieving, because people had told me it was all my anxiety. It was all in my head. I needed to stop being anxious and I would feel better. And my tumor is on a place that physically causes anxiety in these symptoms, so I couldn't stop it. And so I always felt like I was doing something wrong. So it was relieving to know that it wasn't just my imagination.
Yeah. Now, I heard your security officer in the background. I'm guessing that after you threw the shoe and you screamed and you told your mom you wanted a dog, she said, okay.
Yes. My dog is my service dog. She smells the changes in hormones when my tumor grows and can alert to it.
Whoa, this is incredible. Tell me more about it. Now, first off, what's your dog's name?
Sophie.
Sophie. So, Sophie's with you?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're telling me that Sophie is able to smell and know when you're... Well, we're looking at... Oh, there's Sophie. I thought we were looking at the back of Sophie. Sophie's a beautiful black poodle. Mm-hmm. And Sophie is actually able to smell a change in your hormones?
Yes, when the tumor grows. Or when I have a sickness. She actually alerted before I had a fever because of a cold.
Wow.
Because my tumor symptom was fevers. So she's very smart.
I guess she is. That's amazing. I was just talking to my friend who is actually helping to train a seizure dog, or a service dog that helps folks with seizures, and that dog can sense when a person might be ready to have a seizure so the person can get themselves safe so they won't fall and hurt themselves. I'm wondering how in the world somebody came up with that idea, let's train dogs to do this, or even just had the idea of, wow, maybe dogs can do this thing.
Well, what I'm thinking is that when we figured out that dogs have like many times greater sense of smell than we do, people might have wondered, or how they react when we have different emotions. Maybe they smell the emotions off of us.
Tell us a little bit more about this project where you're raising money to buy gifts for kids in the hospital. How much money have you raised so far?
Over $10,000.
Wow. And how specifically did you do that?
I have a passion for painting. I love to paint. And so I will paint pictures and auction them off online. I use YouTube videos or pictures and then base it off of YouTube videos or pictures.
Now, do you have a favorite subject that you like to paint?
I love painting landscapes.
Ah, neat.
My favorite thing to do that I've done more than anything else is lakes.
Lakes. And are you painting real life lakes, or these lakes that you create in your imagination?
Lakes that I'll look at online.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the first lake I painted was online, a lake that was like a video, a how-to, and then so this is the online, this one.
Oh, I'm looking at this painting. It's a sunset.
Yes.
And it's a brilliant. The sun is like a brilliant pink and a blue sky, and then the shimmering waters. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I love looking at things online to see what I can do off of it and see how I can make it my own. That was the first lake I ever did, which was a copy of something online. But now I do lakes that are all my own.
Is it hard for you to part with the paintings when someone purchases them?
Sometimes it is, but sometimes just it's awesome to know that I'm parting with a painting for money that will help other kids,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to bring gifts for them in the hospital. I usually don't even get to see the kids
Mm-hmm.
who give the gifts, but the few times when I've gotten to see the kids, it's just when their faces light up. It's so sweet.
Yeah. Now, it sounds like you're not raising money for some foundation. You're actually raising money, buying the gifts yourself, and then bringing them to the hospital. Wow, that's really super. What kind of gifts do kids in the hospital like to get the most?
Well, I love things like crafts and stuffed animals. So I bring things. I actually brought a Switch for a kid once for a family that didn't have a lot and lots of siblings. We found out about this, and so we got them a Switch with games.
Ah, neat.
And so we brought Switches before. We've brought stuffed animals, tons of stuffed animals. We'll have huge bags just full of stuffed animals, crafts, and just anything really that neck pillows,
Yeah.
and port shirts, because here's my scar for where I had a port right here. There are also little dots all along below it where they stuck the needle. Mm-hmm. So a port shirt is where you can unzip just a place right by the shirt, right by the port, and you can open it up and they can just stick a needle there without having to unzip the whole thing and be completely just exposed.
Yeah. Cassidy, you told us that your initial reaction when you heard that you had cancer was anger. And I completely understand that.
And sadness. Mainly sadness. Yeah. I was angry at the world and sad. Yeah. And surprised.
So how did you go from being sad and scared and angry to the point now where you're bringing so much love and joy and hope to kids? How did you manage that transition?
Well, I think when I was sadness and anger, that was an initial reaction, but I couldn't stay like that forever because that's not a way to live life. I ended up realizing that every day is precious. You never know when something bad is going to happen. You never know when this is all going to end. So you can't live last days or way from last days. You can't live any of your days angry and sad because you never know if you'll even get tomorrow.
I am humbled speaking to you because you have so much wisdom. You're in the 7th grade, so I'm thinking you're around 12 or 13. I don't ask young women their age, so I'm just guessing. But you're so wise at such a young age. Have you always been this wise, or was just facing this Mom says yes. Cassidy says
I was gonna say no because I've tried, but going through, I've definitely become wiser than I was through chemo. I had a pretty perfect life before chemo, during chemo, and after chemo because of all my family. Honestly, I would do chemo again if I could live with my family for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's beautiful. I know that there are parents out there that are listening to this who are in awe because their 12 and 13-year-olds will come home sometimes and scream and shout about how much they hate their life because they didn't get to go to the prom or they didn't get the $150 sneakers that they wanted. How can the parents that are listening to this help their kids gain the wisdom that you have about the preciousness of that every moment, and to help their kids understand that every moment is precious?
Well, they've got to talk to them about it. They've got to maybe show them pictures and stories of kids who maybe have died suddenly or who are in the hospital all the time. Talk to them about it and show them that really just because they can't do this or have the sleepover or eat the ice cream for dessert, you still have to be appreciative for everything because there are so many kids out there who have lives way worse than they do and lives way worse than I did. And I was always grateful that my life was really amazing for a kid with cancer.
Yeah. So, what do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a veterinarian.
Awesome. Awesome. And is Sophia, is she helping you kind of get to know how to treat animals and take care of them and all that?
Definitely. I actually finished Sophie's service dog training for about a year.
Wow.
With the help of a trainer.
Yeah.
Virtually. So I learned how to train her and learned how to take care of dogs, especially you really have to take care of poodles because their hair get into knots, so I have to brush her every day, and we have to bathe her often and shave her face and her paws and her tail often, like every 2 weeks.
That's so cool. Do you ever think of helping to train other service dogs for other kids?
I don't know. That would be fun. I think that would be fun.
I hope your mom's not mad that I put that idea into your head.
Not at all. Cassidy has a mind of her own, and the reality is that she's a wise kid who's with an old soul, and she has a billion ideas of how she wants to make the world a better place, and so we just let her run with it, and when she wants to do something, we try to support her as well as we can.
Yeah. Well, I know people out there are going to want to support you in your efforts. So where can people go to see some of those pictures and maybe bid on some of those paintings?
That's a great question. Right now, her dad and I are in the process of trying to figure out what we can do to set up a not-for-profit, but we aren't there yet. So
right now, it would be your Facebook.
Right now, it's all through either my Facebook page, which is Shannon Otto Stocker Stocker, where I will just do bids, or people can email me through my website
to order.
Yeah, sometimes when we've had a lot of people who have lost out on paintings who then have just said, hey, can I just commission her to do one? And they'll do that. Other people have said, a painting is great, but I just want to make a donation to her. And then we always send them receipts of what we've purchased with their funds so that they can claim them. But we need to get the not-for-profit going because she's done such a good job of that. People can also go to her YouTube page, which is Candid with Cassidy, Fireside Cancer Chats. And that's another way of
Just subscribing to the channel.
Of supporting her. Subscribe to the channel. You can go through and we talk about, we actually need to do another one. We were just talking about that yesterday. But Cassidy is very open with her heart and her experiences and her emotions. And that's been a very conscious decision that she made, both to help kids with cancer and kids who don't have cancer, either siblings of kids with cancer, just people to understand what it's like to be a kid with cancer.
Yeah.
What's the best way for a kid in school who may not be your best friend, but heard this rumor that, oh, there's this kid, Cassidy, and she's dealing with cancer, and what's the best way that kid can support you or somebody like you?
Just write a note or try to find them in school. Write a note, put it in their locker, say, hey, I'm here for you if you need help, because sometimes just knowing someone cares about you is the most important thing.
Well, Cassidy, I want to let you know that I care about you. And I was real excited to meet you when your mom told me about you. I said, I definitely want to have this young woman on the podcast. It's been a pleasure and an honor having you on the show. Can people, if they're in their own city or town, are they able to go and maybe contact a local children's hospital and say, hey, I was just inspired by this kid I saw on, I listened to on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Can I just buy gifts and bring them in to the kids at your hospital? Is that something you think they can do?
They used to be able to do it. I'm not sure if they're back to that point now, but with COVID, they haven't been able to, but I think they're going to get back there.
Okay.
And so it's a place where
you can always
contact
with Child Life.
Ask for a child life specialist at a hospital. Just ask the hospital, if you're not allowed to give gifts yet, ask when do you think we'll be able to? But I think because COVID is slowing down, then possibly it'll happen sooner. Maybe it's already happened.
Yeah. Awesome. Real quick before we go, other than your mom, who's your favorite author?
Shannon Messenger.
All right. We'll have to check her out. We've had a wonderful, inspiring time speaking with Cassidy Stocker, a really, really special young woman. Hey, Cassidy, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be R. Max Tilsley. R. Max will be here to celebrate the Susie Steele Adventures, a great middle grade novel series that your kids will adore. If you're the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I'm going to go there right now. When the page opens, you can see at the top of the page, there's a button that says Authors Click Here. When you click on that button, you're going to learn how to find out how you can be a guest here on the podcast. You're going to learn out how you can submit your book to our Certified Great Read panel. And you're also going to learn about our monthly promotion programs. We're really excited about these programs, and I could tell you how wonderful they are, but instead, right at the top of that page, we have two quotes from authors who've been part of the program. Sivan Hong, she wrote, I am delighted with the results I got from being part of the Reading with Your Kids promotion program. It played a big part in George J. and the Miserable Monday becoming the #1 bestseller in its category on Amazon. I can't tell you how thrilled I was to receive that message from Sivan, and I would be equally thrilled to find out that we helped your book become #1 in its category on Amazon, or be introduced to a wonderful school or classroom, or just to find out that because your book was celebrated here on the podcast, that one family chose to make it part of its family library and the kids love the book. Please do visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on that Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. We would love to help celebrate your book with the entire world. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Cassidy Stocker. She is a really amazing and inspiring young woman, and she's still battling cancer, so if you could, please keep her in your prayers. Also want to thank our sponsors, I Don't Want to Turn 3 by Gramps Jeffrey, and of course, Dax to the Max by Scott Feld. Want to give a special thank you to Skylar Strauss, who edited this episode of the podcast. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Nicole Belcastro, Ashley Contouris. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.